Hi, this is Rob. I'm going to be showing you how to do the exercises that go along with the video lesson about triangles. Are you ready? Let's go. For our first problem, we need to classify this triangle. We need to check all that apply. The categories based on the angles and the categories based on the sides, the lengths of the sides. So we can see from this triangle here that one of the angles is special. It has this square in it, which means it's a right angle. And so when a triangle has a right angle in it, that means it's a right triangle. So we'll mark that right there. And then for the classification based on the lengths of the sides, well, none of the sides are the same length. You know, this one's really short, and then these two are also different lengths. This is slightly longer than this one here. So all we have to do is remember what name goes along with triangles with all different lengths for the sides, and that is scalene. Remember, equilateral means all the sides are equal. Isosceles means two of the sides are equal. Scalene means none of the sides are equal. So this is a right triangle that is also scalene. And now we need to classify this triangle. This one doesn't have a right angle, and if you look very closely, you can see that all of the angles in this triangle are less than 90 degrees. So that means they're all acute angles, and so that means this is an acute triangle. So we'll mark acute. And now for the lengths of the sides here, well, it looks like all three of these sides are different lengths. You know, they might look close, but there's a trick where you can tell if they're exactly the same. They'll have a mark on the edges that are the same, and you'll see that in an upcoming problem. But for now, we can tell that these are all different lengths for the sides. So that means that it is scalene. So this is an acute triangle that is scalene. And now we need to classify this triangle. And our instructions tell us that the marked sides are the same length. And the marked sides that it's talking about is these marks right here. Those marks on the edges of a triangle show that those edges are the same length. And so this triangle has two edges that are the same length, and hopefully you remember from the video that a triangle with two edges that are the same length is an isosceles triangle. So we'll mark that. And then now what about the angles? Well, these two angles here are clearly acute angles, but this angle here, this is greater than 90 degrees, so this is an obtuse angle. And so if a triangle has an obtuse angle, the whole triangle is considered an obtuse triangle. So we'll mark that one there. So this triangle is obtuse and isosceles. And now we need to classify this triangle. And once again, the marked sides are the same length. But this time, all three sides have this mark in it. That means that all three edges are the same length. And when a triangle has three edges that are the same length, it means it's an equilateral triangle. And if the edges are all the same, that also means that the angles are all the same, and the angles are all acute. So that means this is an acute triangle. So this triangle is acute and equilateral. And for this problem, we need to find the unknown angle. And both of these angles here have their measurement written out, so this angle is the unknown angle. It's labeled A, and we need to find out what measurement angle A is. And the way we're going to find that out is by remembering that if you add up all of the angles inside a triangle, it'll equal 180 degrees. So whatever is left over after we subtract these angles from 180 degrees is what this measurement will be. All right, so let's start by adding these angles up here. So we have 55 plus 45. All right, so 5 plus 5 is 10. Carry the 1. Well, that zero's a little weak there. All right, now we add those up. 1 plus 5 plus 4 is 10. Put that in the answer line. So we have 100 as the measurement of these two angles. And so 180 minus 100 is what the measurement of angle A will be. So let's write out 180 and minus 100. And we subtract that. It's pretty easy because there's so many zeros. so I'll just jump right to the answer instead of step by step. 80 is the measurement of this angle here. So let's write that out, 80 degrees. And then depending on how your teacher wants it, that can be your final answer. Or the more proper way of illustrating that that's the measurement of that angle is to put an M for measure, and then this little angle symbol, and the letter A equals. So the measure of angle A equals 80 degrees. For our next problem, we also are supposed to find the unknown angle. We have these two angles are marked, 35 degrees and 125 degrees. And then once again, it's labeled angle A. That's the one we need to find out. And so we will add these two up and subtract them from 180 degrees, which is the total of all the angles inside a triangle. And that will be the measure of angle A. So let's add 125 plus 35. All right, 5 plus 5 equals 10. Carry the 1. 1 plus 2 plus 3 is 6. And then add the 1 to nothing. Bring the 1 down. So 160 is the total of these two angles here. So we'll subtract those from 180. I almost wrote that as a 1. All right, 180 minus 160 equals 20. So put that right there. So the measure of angle A is 20. So you can write that out just as measure of angle A is 20, or you can write out the measure of angle A equals 20. And for this problem, we need to find the unknown angle. And we have 23 degrees for this angle here. This one isn't labeled with a degree mark. This one's labeled A. So it might appear that we only have one known angle. But you'll see this symbol here, this square symbol here, that means that this is a right angle. And we know that a right angle is 90 degrees. So we do have the measurement for two angles in this, so we can figure out what the missing angle is. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and write in 90 degrees here so that you'll see it better. All right, so now we just need to add these up and subtract them from 180 degrees. So let's go, whoops, all right. 90 plus 23. All right, so 0 plus 3, 9 plus 2 equals 11. And so we subtract that from 180. So we have 180 minus 113. All right, so 0 minus 3, we need to borrow a 1. So we borrow the 1 from there, put the 7 up there. So now we have 10 minus 3, that's 7. 7 minus 1 is 6. And then 1 minus 1 is 0. So 67 degrees is the measurement of angle A. That's what's left over when we subtract these two angles from 180. So we can write that out as the measure of angle A equals 67 degrees. So once again, we need to find the unknown angle, but this time it looks a bit tricky because it looks like we have two unknown angles right here, but they're both labeled A, so that actually means that they're the same angle. And this is another clue here. These edges are both marked with this mark here, and that means that these edges are the same length. So we know that these two angles are the same. And this angle up here, even though it's not marked with a measurement, it has this square symbol here, so we know that that's 90 degrees. So we can figure out what these angles are because we know that they're so we can figure out what these angles are because we know that they're the same, and so we just need to subtract the 90 degrees from 180, and then half of what's left over will be the measure of the angle. We know that this angle is 90 degrees, and so we know that 180 minus 90 is going to be what these two angles together equal. So we can find that out by dividing by 2. All right, so let's do that. So 180 degrees minus 90, all right? So, 0 minus 0 is 0. 8 minus 9, but we need to borrow a 1, but there's only a 1 there, so we can just leave it like that. We can just go 18 minus 9. That's 9. So 90 degrees is what's left over, and we know that these two angles together equal 90 degrees. So 90 degrees divided by 2 equals 45. So each angle A equals 45. So we can write that as the measure of angle A equals 45 degrees.